This must be the new turbo version.
This is the new turbo version.
This is the, hang on, I gotta get this out. This is the Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring Signature Edition all-wheel drive.
It is.
That's a lot of things for this to be.
You're watching Everyday Driver. We make a TV show, podcast,
and YouTube channels dedicated to great cars, driving adventures, and helping you find a car you'll love.
subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing.
Well, Todd and I have expressed a lot of love for the CX-5.
Yes,
you know this.
yes.
We have recommended it many times, as a matter of fact, and this is the 2020 version. As Todd said, it's the signature because you used to be able to just buy the Sport, the Touring, and the Grand Touring.
Yes.
But Mazda has added 2 new versions, trim levels above that now include the turbo.
Yay! Now
it's
it's
the
more
big
turbo.
deal.
It's the engine actually out of the Mazda CX-9, so still a 4-cylinder.
Yes.
It's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, but we went from the top engine in the CX-5 that we've actually liked. Used to be 180 horsepower. This one is 250 horsepower and 320 pounds of torque, which is a lot of torque for a little 4-cylinder.
It's good. As a matter of fact, Mazda says if you use 87 octane, you only get 227 horsepower. That's actually on the Monroney.
Yeah.
But if you use 93, you get 250 horsepower.
Yeah.
That's astounding. So it's been around for a little while, and you might think the CX-5 kind of looks the same. It's looked the same with a few tweaks and minor tune-ups here and there.
It's a good-looking generation of this car, though.
It very much is, but you think, well, what should you do? Well, Mazda added a turbo, which is good. They had to add 2 trim levels to get there. But what else do you do? Well, you refine what you've got. You make what you've got even better. They added more standard features as far as safety goes.
Tons of them.
And they refined the noise, vibration, all that stuff. It's quieter, it feels more comfortable. It feels even more like a luxury car at this price point.
I was going to say, this is about a $40,000 car, but it has every possible box checked.
It does.
And if you sit in this, honestly, this is one of those cars, we talk about this a lot, where we sit into something, we see the price and we go, does this seem that expensive to you? This is a almost $40,000 car, and you sit in here and you go, yeah, I can see that. It actually feels like it's worth its price point.
It really does.
And you'd be amazed how many cars and manufacturers, even in the top trims, can't accomplish that. There's actually the IHS, the top safety pick, which is a big deal. And I also, so not only is that a big thing for families, but also think about this. There aren't very many turbo motors where they go, yeah, throw in regular. We're fine.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
So,
I mean, you're down on power, as Mazda has said.
But you're still up on power from the engine prior.
From the base.
And you have all your torque.
Which is still the bottom 3 trim levels, by the way.
You have all your torque still, though. So you can do regular, maintain your torque to have a little bit less horsepower. That, for a lot of people, honestly, we have people that write into the podcast that regular only is a thing.
That's very true.
They will not buy premium.
That's very true.
You got the better engine, it's turbo, and go ahead, buy regular. I mean, buy premium, get more, but buy regular. If that's a thing, you can do it right here and get more.
Well, let me clear things up by making it more confusing. Because
that's what we do right there. We are good at that.
You can get these 2 other trim packages on the lower trim versions if you like the features.
Oh, sure.
So you can get the Touring trim package, the Touring Premium package, but it's really the top 2 that give you that turbo. And so this is going to sound like the world's most profound statement. You're going to say, Paul, you're an idiot. When I tell you that it feels like Mazda has built the SUV Mazda would build, there's a reason. Because many car manufacturers, when they build the SUV, it feels nothing like the same brand.
I see what you're saying.
Because that feeling that you associate with the brand is gone for the SUVs. And so therefore you hear SUV, and many of you on the podcast have relegated yourselves to thinking, all right, I guess I'm in SUV land and I have to just say goodbye to fun.
I'm not gonna like it.
That's not the case. So when I tell you that they have kept the spirit of Mazda and one of their best-known, best-selling cars, the MX-5 Miata, and it feels like that in here.
It feels connected. I see where you're
going.
That
That is a big deal because
I see that.
It's a huge accomplishment and it's hard to do because all those components change. The chassis is different. The components are different. They have to be more robust for an SUV. They have to carry more weight, all that kind of stuff. And to think that they've kept that feeling in here. So I tell you with this, it might be controversial. I think the CX-5 rides better, handles better, and is overall a better feeling than the Mazda 3.
Really? Interesting.
Independent rear suspension.
Oh, interesting point.
Torsion beam axle in the sedan.
The solid axle.
It feels better, and it's still got great inputs. And you think, it rides pretty high, but it turns in really well. How is that possible?
To your point, when we drove our 7-seaters recently for television, we had the CX-9 and the 7-seaters.
Right.
And that was another example of the fact that I kind of feel like any market that Mazda plays in, their contribution will probably be one of the most fun to drive. It might not be the most of other factors, but generally, this is what Mazda does.
That's true.
They do try to create cars that are fun to drive, and I think they've accomplished it in every major market segment. The CX-9 is, I would say,
their
one
big
of the most fun to drive SUVs on the market. The downside of that one is it's also one of the smallest interior-wise. I'm consistently surprised every time we drive one of these. And we've driven it a lot and we consistently like it. But every time we do, I keep thinking about the fact that this doesn't seem as big as the Cayenne my family owns. It does when I walk up to it and I climb in and I go, I'm not sure I lost any space on that Cayenne.
Well, space, and then as soon as you start driving, you think, well, this feels small.
It does. It does
That's
feel small.
amazing.
Yes.
And Porsche is one of the companies that are at the top of their game as far as making a big car feel small, drive small. Here's a Mazda doing the same thing. They've gone up, and so they're coming from a different perspective. It's not like we build large cars and we're trying to build a small thing. Mazda is, they're experts at building small cars and making them fun. And so they go up market because, well, that's what people are buying.
Because everybody wants an SUV.
That's right. This has been around for a while. They kept refining and kept doing everything. The transmission is excellent.
And
it's a
6-speed automatic. It's not a CVT anything. Yeah, absolutely,
Which is amazing. And the handling feels, wow, I could go have fun with this. I can take the family and then we could actually have fun on a curvy road.
These CUVs, which everybody makes and everybody buys, so often they are a compromise of a vehicle. Compromise utility vehicle. That's what they are. Because you don't want a minivan.
That's the CUV, right?
You don't want a minivan, but you don't want the big full-size guy, so you wound up in this, and generally they are the definition of fine. They're just fine. This has got a nice interior and decent dynamics in a good-size SUV. That's actually a success. Well, and there's a reason we talk about this on the podcast so much, because it really is. So many other cars in this market segment get overlooked because of what you're offered for the price in this one.
Yeah, and that's what's so astounding. And so you're going to continue to say, well, it feels like a Mazda. Well, yeah, that's hard to do. Yeah. That's hard to keep that spirit going in a large car. Yeah. That's really actually kind of difficult. So the fact that they've done it is pretty amazing. All right.
Notes. So the big thing I guess we're touching on here is this is a CUV we already like, and all they're really doing is not like, let's change it. No, they're just refining it. They're just going, let's take the edge off of that. Let's clean this up here.
Which is not what usually happens.
Yeah. They've just taken and looked at it and gone, where can we improve? One of the ones that makes me laugh, actually, and it's actually in the press materials, they were like, new for 2020 is an all-new font package over the entire vehicle. And I was like, font?
It's
normally I would beat on a manufacturer for font because that says they have nothing else to say. But what's interesting is in the CX-5 you've got an excellent CUV, and you're just running through the fact that we didn't have to change much. It's still really good. We didn't improve the font.
It does look nice. I have to admit, I do appreciate fonts.
Can I say that when they told me that the font was new, I wanted to check to see if the press release had an updated font as well. Apparently we're updating fonts at Mazda. No, I didn't actually take the time, but I thought, did you update it across the board? Is it like even in your press materials too?
So in snowy weather and a little bit of ice and we get a press car, I get in and I want to, have a little bit of fun and get the thing loose. And so I got in this and I looked for the traction control button.
Yes, true.
I looked and I looked and it wasn't down here, and I looked over on the far side, it wasn't there, and I thought, is it deep in the menu? So I parked and I went deep into the settings. It's not there. There is no traction control off button anywhere on this car.
Agreed, yes.
What it is now the off-road traction assist feature. So they have actually taken away the button and decided for you.
Yep.
So what that means is, on a diagonal, the diagonal wheels, if they lose traction, the car decides, well, I'll brake those wheels and apply torque to the other two diagonal wheels, whatever that is. That sounds fine.
Does it? Does it sound fine?
If you've got traction on the two diagonal ones. That's, hot, sticky rocks and it's a warm day and you've actually got traction. But manufacturers have made it sound like that any wheel spin whatsoever is now a bad thing.
Fair point.
They've made it sound like wheel spin at all, even the tiniest bit, is danger, don't do it. And if you've watched our winter piece with the new Miata RF, you have seen that in some cases, actually a few more than some, that driving in the winter with the traction control off in some conditions is a better way. What if you need the power?
Yeah.
What if you just, I need a little bit of grip, I need just put the power down. The car is thinking now for me and thinks wheel spin bad, sitting still good, and now I'm stuck in the muck and I'm buried.
Sometimes spinning them is key. I mean,
it
think about it. Look, this is extreme contrast.
Let you now.
You're right.
At all.
Extreme contrast of that is Mercedes with their sand and mud mode,
which is
where they actually bounce the car while spinning the wheels to get you out of things, and then of course what we did is we bounced it through a drive-through. So this is who we are. But this is the exact opposite thinking. I mean, that is Mercedes going, okay, let's give you spin and craziness that you would normally try to affect the car with to get it moving. Mazda and many others, but the traction control absence, traction control off button absence is a big thing here that just says, no, you should never have to spin the wheels. But if you deal in bad weather, you will have times when spinning the wheels is kind of what you're hoping for.
It's what you need.
To just try to find something. Yeah, I take your point.
You've put the money into developing the transmission to make it do all these different things. Okay, it has the effect of ultimately keeping the cost down. But I say that's something you need, especially if you're positioning this as a little bit of light off-roading capability. Don't decide for me. And
all of these assists genuinely, and in most cases, are helpful. However, I also think they should all have a off setting.
Totally.
Because you can't actually anticipate for every possibility.
Yes.
I think the only thing that shouldn't have an off setting is ABS. Short of that,
fair enough.
Every helper out there, you should be able to go off. Now this has got lane departure warning. I currently have it off because it does the weird, hey, let me tell you about your lane thing.
And it's like over here yanking on the wheel for you.
But, I see that. It also has that smart cruise control. You can do stop and go traffic in this thing all the way to stop and start again, all the way to freeway speeds. It has smart cruise control. It has cross traffic alert. It has all of these honestly great and helpful safety features that make this a top pick for safety. However, I do still believe that all of those should be driver selectable as off. Thank you for having it. I may use it, but now I don't want it. They should all exist.
Well, it's because the car manufacturer is trying to imagine all the different scenarios and trying to cover them with one setting.
True.
Rather than giving you the option, because who knows what kind of situation you'll be in, and you need to decide for yourself. Okay, fine. It was surprising though. I thought, am I dumb? Did I not see them?
Overlooking a bunch? You and I actually at one point parked in a parking lot and both walked around looking, going, doing the
get out our phone,
thing, trying to figure out where on earth.
Flashlight.
We did. We had the phone flashlights on, going, is there a hidden button somewhere? Never found the traction control, and that is why, because the brain is now doing it for you. Now, all of that back to, this is the all bells and whistles version.
It is.
I am in all-wheel drive mode. I'm not on winter tires, even though it is currently snowing. This just handles well.
How solid is this thing?
It just handles really well. I've been in other SUVs this size that feels like they're constantly vibrating. This has, I would describe this as having a low-level hum about it. You've got that high ride height that manifests like a low-level hum, but something like the Toyota RAV4 felt like it was way up here and tottering a bit. Now it's trying for more off-road capability. But this, especially for this class of vehicle, feels very smooth. And it also feels agile, and those are hard to do at this scale and this price.
Very, very hard. And so, yes, it's got the turbo. That is the best part about this thing.
It is very fun.
The power.
Turbo. There goes turbo.
It transforms the car. It transforms the personality.
It just makes it more fun.
It's better all the way around.
The thing about it, though, is I would still say, honestly, we like the CX-5 enough that if you get a lower trim level with that 187 horsepower, we talked about it on television, we talked about it elsewhere, it's still a really good choice.
I out-accelerated a guy on an on-ramp.
I'm not surprised.
He wasn't ready for me. I was on boost, and I went around him, really fast. It was great. He wasn't ready for the CX-5 to come out of nowhere and pass him. And I thought, turbo?
That's the difference on the turbo, because I think the standard one with 187 horsepower is enough. This is surprising. That's the change that's happened with that engine, for sure.
So the interior is very familiar.
Yes.
The seats have changed, and I think I like the seats better from 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
I think they changed something about the geometry and they're good.
The support was better prior, wasn't it?
But I feel like the support was better.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And it's a subtle change.
It
it's
is.
A subtle change.
I notice it. It doesn't feel quite as like we love just sitting here long road trips. And then I thought, that's a little bit of a different change.
Yeah.
But again, most of the stuff, not all the stuff, but most of the stuff Mazda has paid attention to has been for the better, which is important. I mean, that's the reason to consider this.
Yeah.
The nav screen. I've never seen the navigation look so good on this car.
And we're not fighting for
great.
the all-screen environment either.
Yeah.
Mazda is one of the rare ones that actually wants you to worry about driving, and so they've given you what you need on the screen.
They practice restraint?
Yeah, they do. Crazy with technology. But they still offer Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. All of those are here, which is great. You do have this excellent interaction system here that's very similar to BMW's iDrive. However, it just works. It's
really
got a combination of the way the knob moves and hits detents and the buttons. You can learn it.
It's very sure of itself.
You can do it without looking down or looking over here to make sure your touchscreen is right.
Yeah.
Those are helpful for a driver. Mazda's done that very well. This is the same button combination that carries over all the way through the lineup.
Yep.
It's excellent here too.
We were all out of excuses before this came out. We recommended
before the revision, yes.
all the time. We thought, if this is the space that you need, we would recommend this constantly. Now there's no excuse whatsoever.
Now it's got surprising power.
It's got surprising, excellent power.
Expect us to talk about this more on the podcast if you write in about a 5-seat SUV. The CX-5 is going to be in there somewhere because it's really that good.
They're refined. Quick note about the styling, and that is, you might think it just looks all the same through the lineup. That's actually a really good thing. If you can look at a car and know that it's a Mazda without seeing the badge, they've done their job.
Yeah.
If you look around this car, I love where the lines get crisp and then it fades to nothing. The washouts are beautiful.
Yeah.
They've applied the same sensitivity that they have to the MX-5 to everything else.
And a lot of manufacturers are struggling
Really
right
happy.
now. Yes, they're
Really
struggling
happy
to
about that.
give their cars a related lineup feel and have it not look, I hate to say it, gangly on some. And Mazda's got a lineup right now that they all look related, and yet it somehow works on every size vehicle. That is an incredibly difficult success.
And they did it without just focusing on the grille.
The monster grille. Yes, that's true. Who do we know? There's a couple manufacturers that we could we could call out.
Hard to remember which one that does it that
there's
way.
There's some beaver teeth and there's a predator maw. You apply at home which ones those go with.
Not sure what you're referring to.
I have no idea either.